everybody, and welcome to Board Gamers League. Thanks for coming today. This is the beginning of our Game Creator series, so I'm really excited to have you with us and to be able to introduce this series where we're going to be bringing designer games into the league for you to play, experience, and also get to meet the designer, have a chance to find out what the game is like. And so we brought Jim Swift in today with his game Decatur, our very first game in our Game Creator series. Jim, welcome to the show.
Hi, Joseph. It's good to meet you.
Good to meet you too. Come on in. So you brought Decatur with you. Tell us what the game is.
It's a multiplayer game where you're basically playing as the East India Trading Company.
Okay. A little bit of world domination through commercialism.
I wouldn't say world domination. I would say just trying to establish and maintain a presence on the board better than anybody else can.
Well, we're going to get into this here in a little bit, but before we do that, I'd just like to hear about you as this designer and how you made a game, how you came up with a game. Tell me a little bit real quickly just about your background. Who are you?
Well, I'm an ordinary middle-aged guy. I'm a computer programmer by profession. I've got a family, a wife, and some kids, and a dog or two.
Okay. So, where do you live around?
Down in Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs. And Colorado Springs is where this was created.
Yes.
It's the birthplace.
It's the hotbed of Decatur activity.
So you're a working guy, you've got a family, and you thought to yourself, I'm going to make a board game. How did that come about?
Right. I thought, well, I don't have enough responsibility as it is. I'll take something else on. I think like a lot of people, I felt like I had a good game in me, and just kind of over a long span of years, a couple of decades, I was kind of noodling on some ideas, but for the longest time, I had like half a game,
right,
in my head. And then one weekend, I just kind of realized, it kind of all fit together, and I went and got some poster board from the store and drew up the board and grabbed some pieces from other games and kind of made the first prototype.
And that was the birth of your game.
That was the birth of Decatur. Yeah.
When you started this, and this is a question for you as the designer, were you thinking of yourself in that terms, or were you just having fun making a board game?
I was thinking that I was making something that other people would want to play. That this wasn't just for us as a family. That I felt like of all the games that are out there, that there was kind of a niche that wasn't quite filled, mm-hmm. and that's kind of what drove me to make a game. I was kind of dissatisfied, with other games. It's like, why aren't there games out there that are exactly as if I had personally made them?
Yes.
Go figure. So I made this, and that's why it's not. You'll recognize elements from other games and similarities, but I feel like there's nothing quite like it. So it provides a unique experience in my view. As a result. Will
you tell us a little bit about the experience of making a game? Your company now is called Radio Tapir.
TAPIR.
And this is their first creation. What was it like for you as a person trying to make a game that has a family and kids and balance the whole thing?
Well, initially it wasn't too hard. It was kind of a hobby at the time, so time that I would have otherwise spent watching TV or bowling or doing something else, I just spent on this. So it was just a way to. It was just how I was spending my free time that I had. So it wasn't too hard, and my kids were older. I didn't need to change their diapers anymore, and so I had a little more time. And then once it got to the point where I said, okay, I really want to produce this and get it in stores. I found another guy down in Colorado Springs that had already gone through this process. His name is Don Lloyd, and he owns a little company called Nightworks. And so I had come into contact with him at a game store and just kind of said, I said, how do you do this? And he started telling me all the things you have to do. He's like, well, you got to worry about import, export controls and, all this stuff. And I said, it would be really great if I just kind of paid you to do that, because you already know how to do all that. And he agreed. He was willing to kind of pitch in and help. So he actually manufactured this for me, but I worked in conjunction with him. Close collaboration to make it happen.
How did the art of the game come about? You guys can see there's a really beautiful picture on the board. Really gives you the flavor of that mercantilism era and going to sea and trying to take over a foreign territory.
Yeah, that is a real. It's a picture of an actual painting from the era. I have it noted on the website. I forgot the artist, but it's from around the year 1800, and it's an actual painting of a British East India Company ship leaving. I think it's their harbor. They had that. It was a harbor in England owned by the company.
Huh.
So
it is an actual East India.
Yeah, back in their heyday.
I wanted to just pull out the board really quickly, and also that way you guys can get a picture of that. It's a really nice board. Great colors, laid out really well. So the play isn't affected by game mechanics, and the player is the play area and the mechanics are in the mechanic area. But I thought there was a nice flow between the pieces, what you can see in our tutorial, and the other cards, the board, the art on the paperwork. It all gave me the feel of, I'm out in the world and I'm trying to find my way across these different areas to become the most powerful East India trading company that I can be. One of the things on this board that you'll see is this clock here. This is a game mechanic that you chose to put in the game. The way the mechanic works is basically it's a randomizer on when the game will end. So you're going through here, you're gonna play these turns, and then the turn could end, this interval could end somewhere in here. Why did you choose to put a random end to a interval? Not the end of the game, but a random end to the interval.
One of the hardest things to figure out in this game was how it should end. And I was biased against turn tracks. I just thought turn tracks are boring, they're not interesting. You have to remember to move the little thing. It just doesn't, nobody walks away from a game and says, woohoo, what a great turn track. I really like that game. So I came up with all these different ways to end the game, and they all were horrible. I mean, they were bad. So I kind of came back to the turn track idea, and then and this is my own spin on it. So this is a circular turn track, and as Joseph mentioned, the interval, which is a part of the game, is subject to end somewhere within these dark shaded spaces. The problem for you as a player is it's determined by a random mechanism when you get there, so you don't know exactly when the interval will end until it ends.
But the problem is not so much of a problem. I mean, that is the great part of this mechanic, is all of a sudden I'm over here and I'm feeling all this pressure. Oh, the game could end next turn, and there are 3 things that I want to do, but I only have time for one of them, or maybe I'm going to take a chance and get through all 3 of them.
Yeah. Or you have one thing to do that's going to take you 3 turns.
Yes.
That's where you really are kind of like, well, there's a big benefit to doing it if I can pull it off, but I may or may not have enough time to do it. So yeah, it creates that kind of that suspense. And sometimes, and it's not just a steep cliff. Like,
no.
In a lot of games.
You never felt cheated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You always had, you knew you had the 5 turns, you knew the randomizer was coming, and so you never feel like, it wasn't a question of, could I do some moves? It's, could I do the moves that I know I'm going to do, plus how many can I get away with?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the other really, really great mechanics is the intervals with these prosperity cards. And so essentially in the game, when you're moving into these areas, certain areas, depending on these cards, are going to become more powerful. And at the end of the interval, You find out which ones are the most powerful, and there's an adjustment to how many pieces you have on the board based on the end of that interval. And so these intervals, two things happened for me as a person who played this and experienced it. These intervals had this really natural, exciting end to them because I needed to get all my pieces in position to where I thought the best place was before the end.
Right. And
then the second part of it was there was a clear out mechanism there that was a reward in not, I wouldn't say a penalizer because you always will get some pieces somewhere. So not a penalizer, but sort of a clear out mechanism. So I never had that feeling that I overpowered somebody. In next interval, I had to use what I gained in the first one to try to win the next interval. So each one I'm trying to win through the whole game.
Right. This game is very much focused on trying to figure out which of these regions is more valuable than the other regions,
right.
or which regions are more valuable than others. And instead of focusing on other players per se, you're not forming alliances, you're not trying to conquer the world. You're just trying to kind of establish your presence and maintain it, and do the best at the end of the game. And so, yeah, it's all about you're looking at your cards, which kind of give you partial information on what's going to be good and what's not. But again, it's partial information.
Yes.
So as the game goes on, you'll be watching what the other players are doing. And it's like, all right.
And trying to figure out, they just moved into Africa. Should I be in Africa?
Yeah. Are all the cool kids going there?
Right.
What do they know that I don't?
I think you said it the best to me when I played Decatur. The part that was so fun was I think the gameplay is sophisticated, but it's very simple. I have X amount of choices. I make those choices. But this push and pull between, do I have enough time to make it? The interval is going to end. I know these 2 bits of information, but I don't know that bit of information. But I think about it, what a great fun experience to try to figure out and use all my game playing skills to figure out where I should be.
And to our analysis paralysis friends, just do the best you can. just play by the seat of your pants, and you'll have fun with this.
Well, Jim, this is a really lovely game. Of course, we think so. That's why we include it in the league, and so we're really excited about the game. But I think when you get a chance to play this game and try the different mechanics and feel the flow of the game, you'll really enjoy it. And I think you'll have that experience at the end of the game that you felt like, wow, I played against me and my 3 friends instead of I played against a board that I tried to manipulate to win. I was really trying to figure out what the guy across from me had and what he was trying to do. And so thanks very much for creating this. It's really wonderful, and we appreciate you taking the time to come here today as well.
All right, well, thank you, Joseph.
Thank you very much.